Thanks, Melanie. That's great. Up next, we have Liesl. Liesl, go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, Melanie. So my question was actually very close to the previous caller on the religious aspect, but my approach towards my family has been more on the health because obviously they don't have the animal empathy. But the problem is the person would tell me, but they pray over the food. So, whatever's in there is not there anymore. They pray for the food. So it's like praying is gonna, fix whatever's wrong with the animals or the protein or the food or whatever. How do you deal with that?
I didn't hear the question. Sorry, there's like an echo. What can you just say what your question is again?
Okay, so the question is, I've also got family that come from the religious side of things. And the thing they're saying is that they pray over the food. So because I approach them from the health side, saying, giving them all the information about that, how unhealthy it is and what animal protein does in our bodies and the whole story. And the answer to that is just that we pray over the food. And obviously also the aspect of the Bible says.
Yes, so then my answer would be the same as what I had just said to the previous question about religion.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Tammy. Tammy, if you'd go ahead with your question, please.
And then I have time for just one more question.
Which is remarkable because we actually have one more question after that.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate your comments. I especially liked the first part of the presentation because I grew up on a cattle ranch and my dad is a very gentle soul and raised the animals in a way that was extremely compassionate. It was not big feedlots and not corporate ranching or farming by any stretch. And so I feel very deeply connected to my dad. I'm getting emotional just even talking about it. And I know in my heart that I need to move to plant-based. And I have tried and I've been successful on and off, not completely. I still do eat some meat. My question is, if you have suggestions about the programming of being an animal eater, and also if you have in your research seen people that have cravings for meat as they go through the transition to plant-based. And I'm sorry, that's two questions, but I have both on my mind.
Yeah, I mean, my research was on has been on the psychology of eating animals. So, I mean, and the programming is this carnistic conditioning that I talked about. It's the more aware of it you are, the easier it is to sort of unblend from it and deprogram, as it were. So I would recommend just really learning more about Carnism. You can come to carnism.org. We've got a lot of resources there to raise awareness of Carnism, the specific ways that it affects you. And I'm not a medical doctor or nutritionist, so I can't speak to any physiological aspect of cravings. Psychologically, we tend to crave the foods that we associate with comfort and fullness and fulfillment and certain types of nutrients. So it would make sense that you would have cravings for foods that you have eaten throughout your life, even as you stop rationally wanting to eat those foods. I remember when I was 20 and I wanted to stop eating Doritos when I learned how bad they were for me, and I stopped and I craved them. My body didn't need Doritos, but I craved them because I had eaten them for years and I liked the way they taste, and they were, they were familiar foods. So it makes sense to me that you would continue to have cravings. The cravings are normal. How you relate to the cravings is probably what's most important for you.
Thank you, Melanie. We'll go ahead to our last question with Deb. Deb, if you'd go ahead with your question for Melanie Joy. Deb, just want to make sure you're unmuted. We don't see that on our end. And I think we've lost Deb. So with that, oh, wait, here you are.
sure.
Hi, Deb.
I'm here. And
Hi.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you were through with questions, but I was trying to type it in the chat. It's so frustrating when my sick family member is in the hospital and the meals they serve there are so bad, and they say it must be good to eat because they're serving it in the hospitals. And same with schools. School meals are awful. And your comments. Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
So any thoughts about that, Melanie?
So it was the question that, what is the question?
I guess she was really getting at the fact that, you know, how do we deal with the challenge of the hospitals and the schools serving animal products and all of these foods, whereas these are places where we're supposed to be getting the best and we're not. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just testament to the fact that carnism is so dominant and so institutionalized. It's the same reason that veterinarians, you know, who have taken the Hippocratic Oath to help animals are, you know, work in slaughterhouses and eat animals and wear animals. So it's the same reason that environmentalists eat animals. We have been indoctrinated to really compartmentalize and not make connections, to basically remain unaware of what's right in front of us. And this shows up, you know, on an individual level. We can see this in ourselves, you know, the way that maybe we used to be, the people around us, but we see this in our institutions as well. It's just a massive, you know, quote unquote blind spot, lack of awareness that will, you know, that is changing. It's slowly changing, but we really need to work very hard to raise awareness, not just to raise awareness of the consequences of animal agriculture on our bodies, on our planet, on the animals, but on the psychology that actually gives rise and you know, the roots of this, which is the psychology, or at least part of the feedback loop, you know, the psychology that drives us to think in these ways and to not make obvious connections.